when I had the first space that I called Strange Weather in Philadelphia, which was in my living room at the time, someone had loaned me a pack that had 2 512s and a pair of 560s in it, and I used them on everything. Also, it wasn't that much other equipment, but was very happy with them. When I closed up my studio in Philadelphia and moved back to New York, and after a year or two, realized it was time to have a space up here again. And I'd been used to working on larger format vintage consoles around town that all were completely falling apart. There's always significant problems with them. And I knew I needed a desk, and I knew that I needed something that would work. And I knew that I wanted a vintage style desk for sure. But there weren't that many options at the time. And that year I was at AES and API debuted the 1608, and it was just so clearly exactly what I wanted. Talked to the guys and ordered our first 1608 completely unloaded. Worked on that for a couple years, started buying EQs one at a time, then moved into another space and got an expander bucket, which was perfect because we didn't have to replace the desk. All of a sudden we could just grow with it. Continued to grow until we needed a third expander and had a 48 channel 1608, put the automation system in. And that was, at that point it was an enormous desk, and it sounded fantastic, but it didn't have the routing we needed more and more. So then we started to hit the wall with how many buses and auxes there were, and for a long time Daniel was pushing me to design my own product to add some more buses to the system, to the point where I have PCB designs for something that was going to be a modular system just to have more buses. Finally one day, Dan came down with the plans for the AXS and said, "Hey, isn't this exactly what you've been telling us you wanted for a decade? Maybe you guys want one?" Where immediately, of course, we said, "No, we can't spend that money." And then 2 days later said, "Yes, of course," and ended up with this beauty.
I decided, you know what, I gotta get out of the box. I mean, get out of the box. Like, stop using all the plugins and just basically get into the craft of recording music. So I saw the box and I said, oh my God, that's a perfect form factor. I didn't have this studio space yet, and I was in a loft, so I needed something that was small, but I wanted something that was completely analog. And I remembered the fond memories of me using those API EQs back at Carl's studio in 2008. And so I went straight for the box. And I did some research on it, and I found out that all the APIs, they're basically underneath, they're basically saying they use the 2520 op amps. So that was another reason why I was okay with buying the smaller console. And I didn't even anticipate like me wanting to get a bigger console at the time when I was looking at the box. I said, okay, this is gonna be it. I don't need anything bigger, and this will be perfect. But I wanted more inputs because I started buying all these synthesizers and drum machines and stuff like that. So I wanted a bigger board to accommodate all the other stuff that I was buying. And then also I needed more echo returns. So that was a big, huge reason why I really decided to kind of move up to the Big Daddy, or for me, the Big Daddy, because I never owned, actually I owned the AMEC board back in the day, but it was not on this level.
API in my studio is almost a timeline of my studio, because every single piece of API gear in this studio was not bought at the same time as another piece of API gear. So you can literally go down the list of my 512s, and those are years of my life. I remember when I mixed a record to get that 2500. I remember when I bought my first 5500. I remember when an electrical company cut down a wire in my yard without telling me and fried that 5500, and I got a free one from them, and then I just replaced the fuses. I mean, I don't know, to me, and then I got the box. So for me, when I got the box, it changed everything about what I was capable of doing in this studio. It made it so that I could reincorporate all of my analog gear. It made it so that I had a center section that was worth showing people. It basically made it so that I could make records that sounded good to me and would continue to sound good to me.
API has definitely been a part of our business model and central to the studio since it's been in New York. But it's really two things that have been important. One of them was scalability, was the fact that we were able to buy an unloaded 1608 and have it grow with our business. Instead of having to tear everything out and start all over every time we needed something new, slowly expand. But more importantly than that, it's just the fact that the desks are so easy to work on and sound so good. So it's so much less time spent fussing and more time spent listening to the musicians and working with them.
My friends are asking me, like, why would you spend all this money on a console when you can do all this stuff in the box? I'm like, bruh, come on. Do you really have to ask me that? It's like, it's one of those indescribable things.
Truly, the gear API in my studio is a timeline of my career.